Hey guys, world-renowned iconic character actor Sean Whalen. I know him from Jury Duty. You probably know him from the milk commercial, or from Tammy and the T-Rex, or from That Thing You Do, or from wherever you know him from. He's now got a new movie. It's called Crust. It's his directorial debut, and he's making the damn thing himself, supported through Indie Gogo. He's doing it alongside Felissa Rose, another icon who you know as Angela from Sleepaway Camp. I wanted to talk to Felissa and Sean, not only about Crust, what the plan is, why Sean's doing it through Indie Gogo, but also talk to Sean and Felissa about all of their iconic roles and the fan bases that they have created through those roles. So I thought, what better place to do it than here in the Notsam studio? It's icon time here on Notsam, and we have two icons joining us. You know them from various projects, I think. We have Sean Whalen, who, I mean, maybe, what would you say, most famous from the Twister, the milk commercial, for me, I have a whole list that we're going to have to talk about. Yeah, Jury Duty is at the top of it, just so you know how deep we're going today. And, and of course, the amazing Felissa Rose, the one and only Angela from Sleepaway Camp. I am so happy to have you guys here, so welcome.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, I mean, it's my pleasure. I guess first, let me talk to you first, because you guys have, obviously there's a reason this poster is behind me. Crust is the movie that we're going to talk about, but I got to talk to you because Felissa, like, Sleepaway Camp. And I know, I'm sure that, like, your entire life, this thing has followed you around. But it is, like, I've talked about it within the last year on my radio show to my co-host who had never seen the movie. I was like, you have to understand, this is the best twist maybe in the history of the genre. It's incredible. What was it like for you after Sleepaway Camp came out, right? And you're still a kid, really, to live as Angela after this kind of shock ending had happened?
I went back to 8th grade and 1 year later it came out, and I took my class to see it at the local movie theater. And just like everyone else, I saw the end and I went, wow, that's interesting. Because although I understood the concept and the script and whatnot, it was still like, a bit of a doozy once I saw how the film came together, because you can't grasp that at 13. I was 13 at the time of making the movie. So it was just as shocking for me being the person in the movie. And then I sort of just went about my business and did school plays and commercials. And it wasn't until I went to study in college and continued acting then sort of in my late 20s, 30s in the genre. But yeah, it was just as shocking for me.
That's actually amazing to hear. So was the whole thing a prosthetic? Like, meaning like the entire, your entire body and face? Was the face connected to a prosthetic body? How technically did this work?
Well, Ed French, our incredible effects artist who went on to do so many wonderful and amazing films, Star Trek, and certainly a great resume. He made a mask of my face, the mold of my face, and he put it on an 18-year-old boy, because he had to be of age,
of course,
to do that last scene. And he stood naked with the mask, so the close-ups are my face, and then the full amazing body was this young man who was paid $250 and a bottle of Jack Daniels and had to shave his body and stand there as Angela.
and tell all his friends, that was me, right? That's swear to God, that's me.
Where is this guy? Because he's the real star of the movie. Well, let's be honest.
Well, yeah, but to an extent. But I also think that part of the reveal of that scene is like the face, right? Like the face that you make has become so iconic. As a kid, did they instruct you on, like, we just need a real creepy smile? Where did the face come from?
Robert Hiltzik, our writer director, had me make that face. And clearly it was something that he thought about because the mask had to be made way earlier prior to filming. So I sat in Ed French's apartment in New York City with the gaping mouth and the eyes, and they put the latex all over me, to make that mold and make the little thin face that would then go over the boy. So he thought about it. Robert Hiltzik made that face, and I sat there and made it for the mold, and then here we have it 40 years later. The movie came out 40 years ago now. Joe Bob Briggs told me it was October 28th in Texas. It came out 1983.
That's incredible. And of course, Joe Bob would be the one that knew that. But
my guy, I love Joe Bob. I just have to say he is the greatest person, and I love The Last Drive-In.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's interesting. I'm glad you brought up The Last Drive-In because I feel like that's part of like at some point. I think it was probably like in the early 2000s or whatever it was. You decided like to jump in head first, like you were kind of gone, and then you were like, "Let me jump in head first and just be this horror person." And I mean, I don't know anybody that's got a role like you have that's embraced that audience and that role and continuing on with horror movies more than you. How was that decision made?
Thank you so much, Sam. Thank you for that. I really appreciate it. I absolutely not only love the genre, being a huge fan of horror movies, but I'm a huge fan of our incredible collective community. When I go to conventions, it's not just going and sitting at a table. It's actually an entire life that I am so grateful for, to connect with people and talk to people. I mean, let's face it, this life, it's all, whatever we make of it. And I truly feel so thankful to be part of this community and share. And as I said, connect with people on a level that's greater than just, wow, I love horror movies. And I think the reason Sleepaway Camp does resonate with an audience this 40 years later is because Angela was an outcast. Angela was a scared, awkward person. And we've all felt that way, especially during those teenage adolescent years. So we connect with her. And hey, let's face it, it's a great revenge film. So we
Yeah,
sort
that's
of,
true.
you'd ever been picked on or felt ostracized, you understand Angela. So we take it from the movie, and then the relationships I've built have been so much greater and so incredible because I had this film to be able to, chat with people and be immersed in this beautiful community of ours.
Well, also like the aunt that raises Angela is like one of the best. Like when you talk about like one scene performances, one of the best things ever. Like you can't explain the weirdness or the choices that were made, but I feel like just in that one little weird scene, there's so much going on that once you know the whole movie and you get to the end, you can then go back and go, oh, maybe this was happening there. Maybe that was happening there. It's amazing.
She sets the tone for the whole film. That 2-minute performance is the most extraordinary moment because you have no idea what to expect and why she's acting so bizarrely. And I love Desiree Gould. May she rest in peace. We lost her a couple of years ago, but certainly she is the reason for the entire catastrophic craziness that continues on through the 90 minutes of the movie. And I really love that performance. She's amazing.
Were you surprised when you grew up that the movie had as much impact as it had on people?
I'm amazed every day. I am truly blown away from a movie that was made in 1982 for $350,000, and then I hadn't heard really much about it until the internet. I am just every single day like taken with it. I can't even. I'm so grateful.
Yeah, I mean it's really cool, and it's just one of those like you wait for that stuff, those moments where it's just like. I mean, I feel like it's like for me, it's like that Sixth Sense level twist at the end where you go, oh, like oh my God, like the entire movie just changed because of this, and you don't see it coming. What is it? How did you make the decision to go like, yeah, this is kind of what I'm going to dedicate my life to in terms of like acting in horror movies and kind of living as the person who portrayed this character?
So sweet. I think just again loving the genre and been afforded this kind of a character in this kind of a movie, and meeting amazing directors like Adam Green and Damien Leone, who've given us such great horror movies like the Hatchet franchise and Terrifier franchise. I think it was just sort of a my loving horror movies and then sort of again stalking these incredible directors and and having the opportunity to work with them and make movies that I love. It's really kind of I guess it's a match made in hell, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's part of it, right? That so many of the people making movies now kind of grew up with that and are fans of yours and everything and want to keep that going. I mean, you bring up Damien Leone and like Terrifier 2. It's just one of my favorite stories of the right thing happening to the right movie in recent memory.
To the right person, to the right group of people.
Yes. What when you're a part of Terrifier 2, because, and I talked to Damien about this too, that it's such a departure from the first one, that it's a risk, right? That is that fan base, because that's the key, right? This is such a specific type of movie. Is that fan base going to take the ride with us? You couldn't have had any idea when you were kind of a part of making that movie that it would make the cultural impact that it ended up making last year.
Not to that extent. When I, again, I use the term stalking lightly, but I love Terrifier so much that in 2018, when I was at New Jersey HorrorCon, I made it, I was very deliberate in making sure I met David Howard Thornton, the amazing Art the Clown, and Damien Leone, the writer-director of Terrifier 1 and 2. And I beelined over to their table like, oh my God, I love the movie. And he started talking about the sequel. And I like right then and there said, if you make a sequel, I will do anything. I will hand out coffee. I will do whatever you want, because I'm a true fan of them and the film. And when they got it together, he called me and said, look, I know you're on the West Coast and we're filming on the East Coast, but we have this fun teacher role. Like, can you, get here? I was like, yeah. They said, we'll get you here. We'll, make it happen. And I thought it was super amazing. And to be part of that universe, just for that small little part, means everything to me, because again, not only as an actor, it's incredible to be cast in a movie like that, but also to be working with people I'm a huge fan of and I truly admire and adore is pretty incredible.
I love that. I love that, like, the story of so much of this stuff is you just being a fan and stalking the directors and finding them at conventions and like going like, yeah, I like what you do. Like,
Adam Green as well. I saw him at Rock and Shock many years ago and I was like, terrified to even talk to him. I was shaking. I was like, oh my God, I love you. And then he called me to do his scary sleepover. And then he told me he wrote this part in Victor Crowley. And I was like,
that's how we met. I was a stalker to Felissa.
I mean, that's...
And he jokes, but...
No, that's the truth.
So you went up to her at a convention to go like, I'm a fan of yours.
So the story is me and my friends saw Sleepaway Camp in Westwood Theater. Now, I lived my life happily knowing that I was seeing the first run of Sleepaway Camp in a theater. Felissa broke my dreams by saying, I guess it was released in November before, right? For a short time.
It was Corpus Christi, Texas for one screening, October 28th, according to the amazing Joe Bob Briggs. But then the big release nationally was November 18th.
Right. And then but obviously they probably thought a summer camp movie isn't doing the best in Thanksgiving. So they re-released it in June. I saw it in the theaters then. It was amazing. Our friends and I never had this experience before or since. Sitting in the audience, the thing ends, literally everybody in the audience going, wait, so wait a minute. So that we all get together in a group, we're going, wait, so no, that wasn't him. That was, and then we're all walking outside talking. And then we go, all right, we're coming back next week with all our friends. It was gone. Back then, you had to wait 6 months to VHS. My friend Doug, who, of course, Felissa has met because he's a huge fan too. We sent the thing all to all our friends, family. We had gatherings, we had parties, we narrated it. I think I've seen it like 35, 40 times. And then a friend of mine, like a friend neighbor, who I turned on to, gave me a birthday present to get a call from Felissa Rose from Sleepaway Camp on my birthday. And I called, and I'm talking, and I'm like going, and and I saw it in the theater, and I was just being a total dork. And then I said, "So what part of California do you live in?" She goes, "Oh, she lives in the same neighborhood as me." And I go, "Oh, really? Well, guess what? I'm an actor too. I'm an actor. Maybe we can get together and have lunch."
I said, "I have to go." No.
Yeah. I gotta go. Like, no. So then, like 7 years later, or no, I guess it was like 4 or 5 years later, I'm at a convention and she's there. And thank God she recognized my work. So when I went up to the table like a complete dork, she knew who I was and I knew her. She was. I said hello. We gave her a hug. She came over a little bit later, and like literally, I'm not even kidding. 2 hours later, we're in the bar, like best friends that we've known each other our whole life.
I love that. I also love that, like, you guys can do what you do and still be fans of what you do. You know what I mean? There's no like, oh, well, now I'm an artiste. I remove myself from this. It's like, no, we do these things. That's why you want to do it to begin with, right? Because it's cool.
Well, I mean, people say that to both of us a lot. They go, "You guys are so down to earth." And Felissa and I we just don't see ourselves that way. We see each other as people with a weird job. We still have to hustle to pay bills. We still have to pay our mortgages and rents and insurance. We just show up in your movie theaters or television. That's our only difference. You are valued. You are just as valuable as us. And I think we just don't see ourselves as better than anyone. It's just a weird job. And I think it's the way we're raised, on the East Coast, kind of simple,
Yeah.
I hate the word fan. That's like my least favorite word is fan. I just think it sounds so shitty, it's just odd. It's like I use the word friend because we're all friends, and again, we're all part of this community, whether you're going to a convention because you love horror movies or you're in horror movies. Again, that's why our community is the greatest community in the world. And if you go to a horror convention, you'll know it, because it's just a room full of amazing people in different capacities with how much they love and adore the genre, and it's just a celebration.
So what of Sean's work were you most familiar with? Like when you did come into contact at the convention or whatever, what did you know him from?
Well, I knew People Under the Stairs. And
Yes.
his work as Roach is amazing because, again, that's a character that is not on screen so much throughout that film, but the character is one that completely captivates the audience. And certainly the milk commercials, I was like, oh my God, the milk commercials. That was huge,
Yeah.
And an employee of the month, and there were a bunch, but he is that guy, and he's that actor, and loved by everyone because of how humble and down to earth. And I think that's the most beautiful part of the actors and directors in our community. Everybody's in it because, like, I know Damien and Adam love the genre. Like, they're not trying to do anything other than what they love from their heart authentically. And that's also why such great things have happened to those two in particular, because they're doing it from a very genuine place. Nothing about it is artificial. Nothing is glossy like the big Hollywood movies. And, they are making films because they absolutely adore horror movies.
And they're making the films, and just like we are with Crust, is we're making the films that we would want to see.
Yes. Yeah. And
that we would be a fan of the movie we're making.
Yeah. And that's part of being a fan and embracing, maintaining that fandom of it, right? Is that you still are in touch with this is the movie that I want to see. It's funny, Sean, because I was thinking about like where do I like know you from? Because like you said, you're that guy. You're in so much stuff, and I'm like, of course, as a kid, right? Like the Aaron Berg milk commercial. Like that's one of those things that just replays and replays and replays in your head. I realized though, for the longest time, and I don't know why this movie resonated with me so much more than I think anybody else. But it's just one of those things I saw as a kid. It stuck in my head and it never left. You were always the guy from Jury Duty to me. I loved the movie Jury Duty. You were the guy from Jury Duty. And so I'm pretty sure, you know, if the order in my head is right, when I watched the milk commercial, everybody's like, yeah, that's the guy from the milk commercial. I go, no, the guy from the milk commercial is the guy from Jury Duty, who's now in the milk commercial.
That's great.
Yeah,
Boy, the
milk commercial.
Yeah.
The milk commercial. Of course, you know, they try to capitalize on a feeling or whatever you've done, right?
Yeah.
They want, you know, Paul Giamatti to be the loud screaming guy, or, you know, it's like, it just happens. And so they wanted me to do a bunch of facial expressions. And so I was hired because of the milk commercial to be a prisoner that doesn't have to talk that much, but give a lot of facial expressions. So that was kind of, you know, and I rode that little wave.
That makes sense. I never would have put the two and two together like that, but that makes.
Oh yeah, even in Twister, there was a thing from the Warner Brothers when we were doing an eating scene. They're like, tell Sean to put a ton of steak in his mouth and chew really, you know, from milk. You know what I mean? So,
did that drive you crazy at all? Like, did at any point did that drive you crazy where you're like, you know? I
was just thinking about, you know, Felissa and I have always had goals. We never stop moving. We always have goals. We always try to get better. And her goal, my goal was a personal one before I met her, was I don't want to be the milk guy anymore. I want to be that guy from that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And Felissa said to me, I don't want to be Angela. I want people to know Felissa. And we both have reached those goals. And now, you know, my new goal has been, you know, everybody comes to your table for your well-known thing. I mean, you know, at the end of the 80s, when they split up, Mick and Keith turn to each other and go, they just want to hear the Rolling Stones. So let's just get back together and tour, you know. And most people want a Twister thing or a Sleepaway Camp or a Roach thing. And so our goal is to say we want to really get, and Felissa did it with Terrifier and other movies. And for me, I want people to come up to the table and go, oh, we want Roach and Twister and Crust. That's my new goal.
I love
to be.
Yeah.
I want a new iconic, you know, horror thing that people know me from.
And as an actor, I mean, it's not, you know, like for me, it's just about doing really fun work and working with people I absolutely adore. Like I just worked with the Boulet brothers from Dragula on Shudder, and I'm obsessed with them. So it's like just the way I'm obsessed with Joe Bob Briggs. Here I go again with my stalking. You know, when you love people and the work they do, it just makes sense to sort of collaborate, and you hope that people enjoy that work. So I'll always love Angela. She'll always be part of the fabric of my existence.
And Roach, for sure.
But you hope to, you just hope to sort of elevate and inspire in other ways. You want to keep everything moving and fun. And, you know, it's just satisfying as an artist.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I think it's also really cool to continue to be a part of like awesome things that are having that impact. Like I said with Terrifier 2, like, I mean, I love the franchise. I love that movie so much. So the fact that I'm already a fan of yours and you pop up in that's when it starts. The Felissa Rose thing to me really starts. And Sean, I mean, you're the same way. Like if I grow up with Jury Duty or the milk commercial, but then like, as I start to put two and two together, and I'm like, no, like you've been in like multiple of my favorite movies. Like That Thing You Do,
yes,
is one of my favorite movies of all time. And I distinctly, and maybe it's because, you know, you've got your face, you're a character actor, you remember seeing you, but like I distinctly remember you and the arc, kind of that mini arc that your character took in that movie. But that's such a cool thing to be a part of a movie like That Thing You Do.
Absolutely. I think that, you know, it's funny. I was in Drew Barrymore, like what's interesting is Drew Barrymore's worst opening weekend was Never Been Kissed, which people know me from. Tom Hanks' worst opening weekend was That Thing You Do, which I was a part of. Ang Lee's worst opening weekend was Ride with the Devil, which I was a part of. So I'm really good at tanking people's box office records. But what's interesting is they sustain. Like, people love Never Been Kissed.
Yes.
People love That Thing You Do. These movies sustain, so it just doesn't matter about an opening weekend.
And it doesn't matter. All that is, and that's why we love horror movies, because who cares about the big,
no one cares.
It's all about just having fun and really being positive and keeping things moving.
Yeah. And that's one thing that we've and by the way, Felissa's never stalked me for anything. So just going on, just say that. All these people
I'm about to. And I'm stalking Sam too. I do. I just want to say I love you, and I know Sean's going to take over and continue chatting about Crust and all that good stuff. Mwah. I'm sorry that I have to take off, but Sam, thank you so much for having us and having me and chatting about these fun horror movies. I appreciate you so much.
No, thank you.
Grateful for your time.
I hope we run into each other at a convention or something.
Oh,
it was
I
great
hope
to
so,
yeah,
yes.
for sure. Thank you.
Let's do that.
Yes, absolutely. And congratulations on being a part of Crust and everything.
Thank you so much.
Of course. But
take it away, Sean.
You got this, dude. You got this, Sean. Now,
yes, he does.
You know,
I love you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
And
Bye.
when we talk about those iconic horror movies, Sean, to me, one of the movies that has sustainability that you were involved with was Idle Hands. And I don't think anybody would have thought that Idle Hands would, like, that felt like, at the time, this is one of these, like, you know, late 90s movies that'll just exist now and then we'll be done with it. But, like, as the years have gone on, people love Idle Hands.
Yeah, Tammy and the T-Rex.
Dude, I was going to mention Tammy and the T-Rex.
Yeah. Well, no, it was weird. Like, someone goes, they call me up and they're like, hey, man, we want to have you come in to do a interview for the behind the scenes of Tammy and the T-Rex. And I go, yeah, they're releasing a gorier version or something. And man, did that like blow up. And I guess it's in a video game, the whole movie right now, Life something. It plays in the background in some game. Right now, everybody's been DMing me and saying like, "Oh man, you're in this game." That Tammy and the T-Rex, and just every live I do, a lot of people bring it up, and you know that's the guy who did Mac and Me, and that was my second favorite besides Sleepaway Camp. Great bad movie, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's so crazy, you know. Felissa and I laugh all the time about Sleepaway Camp, and I go, was anyone happy at the camp? Like, did anyone like anybody? Like, the kids hate each other. The kids hate the counselors. Counselors hate the kids. The counselors hate each other. The owner hates all the kids. And I mean, it's just so funny. Like, there's two nice people in the whole thing. So funny. Like, to me, it just makes it great. And then, spice that with some Brooklyn accents, and it's the most funny thing in the world.
It's perfect. And it really is. I mean, does it change your perspective a little bit with how you look at work when you realize that so much of this stuff lasts forever? And I'm imagining that you would have never thought that Tammy and the T-Rex or any, like, maybe That Thing You Do because it's this Tom Hanks movie and blah, blah, blah. But, like, everything, the commercials, like all this stuff. Yeah. There's no way of knowing what's going to last forever, right?
People are really into Twister for some reason. They're really, really.
Yes.
Like, in the pandemic, it was like number one, top 5 movies rented and down. And I just kept on going, why now? And I think people are like, we're home with our kids. So we're showing them all the movies we loved in the 90s, and they're also saying, the world's so crazy. It's nice to go back to a simple disaster movie with this, and the reason people I think love that is because we went in there, me, Alan Ruck, and a bunch of people, and we sat there and thought, well, this is about the huge special effects. This isn't really about us. So with that relaxed attitude, we just kind of played around, and then now no one talks about the tornadoes and the special. They talk about us because I think we didn't care because we just went, our job is to look up and get wind blown in our face. That's it. You know what I mean? And because we just took that pressure off ourselves, we just had a blast. And a lot of the stuff that happened on that set was organic and things that we did with each other off screen. You know, that everyone talks about me and Philip Seymour Hoffman going, food, food, food. Well, that was what we used to do off screen when we would go antiquing and stuff. We'd be like, we're hungry, ooh, food, you know, and we just brought that into the movie, you know?
Yeah. I loved it. Like, that's such a great observation. And that's such a good, like, little piece that, like, you were focused on the special effects, because you're right. Like, there's everywhere you go, people like have their favorite scenes, or scenes are posted on YouTube, or they're passed around Twitter or whatever. None of them have any special effects in it. It's all, you know, finger of God, you know, it's all the dialogue scenes.
Yeah, people have, I never even heard Fold the Maps until I got on TikTok, and people were like, don't fold the maps, don't fold them. I'm like, what are they talking? Like, I don't even remember what they're talking about. And I had to go back and I had to see it, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what's so exciting about Crust. It's historic in that Alan Ruck and I will be acting together for the first time since '96.
That's really cool. And I wanted to paint a little bit of background before we could really dive into Crust, because I'm really excited about this for you and for, I mean, movie fans, right? Like, I love that more and more people are able to create their own movies, and that there's so many different ways. Like, you're going through Indie Gogo for Crust to raise the money, but it's like you have this vision. Obviously, you're this movie fan, and you go, you know what? Like, let's just make the movie the way I think we should make the movie, and see what happens. Like, it's a beautiful thing.
The history of the movie is, I had way back, like in 2010 or something, I was in some pitch meeting, and people were like, horror's so expensive and horror's so hard. And I go, you guys are overthinking it. Just, like, I don't know, shoot it all in a laundromat, and then you take the used leftover socks and it turns into a sock monster. I mean, that would be cheap. Said that out loud, never thought about it again. Then after I got my divorce in 2015, I went through a pretty heavy, like, depression, and I came out the other end in 2016. And I had all these weird feelings. I had frustration and anger and all this stuff, and it was really just a lot. And then people go, oh, you should have had a pet. Like, pet? Come on, man. I couldn't even figure out how to walk out the door, let alone, you know, take care of a pet. I go, it'd be fun to have a pet that, you know, took care of all my problems and avenged all my enemies. And then I go, wait a minute, that sock idea. And then thirdly, I went to a friend's house, Aaron Mento, who's a young filmmaker. If you like young John Waters, then you can see the Ugly Sweater Party, which Felissa got me involved in, which was really great. He did a thing called 16 Bits, which literally looks like it was made in the early 80s. He's just, he's a really fun filmmaker. But I went in to shoot a thing for them. They got me out in a day, and they got literally all my stuff, because they put me on green screen, and I'm throughout the entire movie. And I thought, wow, this can be done. Like, this can be done. And so I went home, and Crust just flew out of me. And it just took it a step further. It's a lonely child actor who's escaped Hollywood and Tinseltown, because we don't really know where or when we are. In fact, the movie starts that way. It says, at some place, at some time. And he's hiding out from his old show, and he's depressed, and he takes all the used socks out of the dryer, and he wipes all his bodily fluids on them. And when he gets bullied one day, his tears of pain bring that sock pile to life, and it starts to avenge all his enemies. And the issue is, unlike Little Shop of Horrors, because obviously it's a little nod to that, he likes it. He's not Seymour scared of Audrey 2. He's digging it. It makes him feel better. The depression kind of wanes, and it turns into a more of a Willard thing, you know?
Yeah.
But all the time with this fun comedy, cute, really cute. If you look at the poster of Crust or whatever, he's a very cute, like, he looks like a mini Oogie Boogie with just the socks and the eyes, but no, you know, none of the mouth or anything. And it's just a really good time. And it's a genre. It's Felissa named it the best, a creature feature horror comedy, which is just the perfect name for it. I'm shooting it in black and white. I'm shooting it in a different kind of style, with kind of an open camera, because obviously I'm an actor. So my first directing is going to be, I'm not cutting around bad performances. I got solid people. I got Alan Ruck, Danny Roebuck, Rebecca Kennedy from Two Witches, Ricky Dean Logan, character actor in the horror genre forever, Freddy's Nightmare and Back to the Future. And I have really good actors that I've worked with for a long time, and either students of mine, but I said to Felissa when she's producing, I said, everybody I cast is someone who I need to know and have worked with in the past and feel safe with, because I'm going to be taking on a lot as I'm directing and starring in it. And, Rebecca Kennedy and I, she's a character actress. We never, ever will get a romantic lead, So you have to educate this town on what you can do. They go, oh, sure, you could be a creative lead or a romantic lead, but they wouldn't give me that part.
Right.
So I have to show you I can do that part.
Right.
And they say, oh, you could carry a movie, but you never give me that chance. Well, then I need to show you that I can carry a movie, And that's what's different. In the 90s, we used to get lot more money, a lot more opportunities, but we could never make a short. I'm aging myself, but saying when you bought film in the 90s, it was $40,000 for 10 minutes worth of film.
Right.
Just to get the film. That had nothing to do with anything else in production. So we're so lucky we do get to tell these stories the way we want to now.
Yeah, I already love the comparison. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. There's just producers who wanted to come in and go, well, if you want this on the shelves of Walmart, we have to change this and the black and white. And I finally went, as Felissa and I circling back to what we were talking about, I'm not making this for them.
Right.
I'm making this for the people I'm making this the way I felt when I came home and I had a few adult gummies or a few were legal, and or some adult beverages, and I sat down, I turned on, and I saw Sleepaway Camp, and I loved it. And my wife felt the same way about Rocky Horror Picture Show, and people have come up to me and said they felt the same way. People under the stairs. That's who I'm making it for. I'm making it for the community that has followed my comedy and horror. For them, it's my gift to them, saying, I want you to come home one night and be being out and with friends, and you turn this on, you go, man, I got to turn my friends onto this. This is crazy. Yeah. And I don't need to be on the shelves of Walmart for a week and then a bin the week later for status. I'd rather wherever it ends up, I'd love it to be in a theater, and I think it's going to be a fun experience, of course, but people will find it. And I don't know why the response has been so crazy. I think it's because Felissa and I have always kind of approached people, with kindness and, trying to meet everybody and talk to them, look them in the eye at a horror convention, shake their hand, talk about them, which a lot of people don't do, which I find strange. Why wouldn't I do that? I was raised to be just a nice person. But the response has been crazy. I mean, we've exceeded what we thought we would do. And, the more we get, the more I can give you the gift that I truly want to give you the way I think you'll enjoy it best, without a business mindset. The business will take care of itself if I am true to myself.
Yeah, and I think too that you've developed this trust that people have in you, both you and Felissa, in the sense that like you're clearly such fans. Like we've been talking about this whole time, you can trust a fan to make something that's fun, that's nuts, that's what the movie should be. And if you go to Indie Gogo and you just search Crust, a creature feature horror comedy, Crust the movie, whatever, you'll find it really easily. So you can contribute to it. There were a couple of things that you said there that I really liked. I love the comparisons because I love both Willard and Little Shop. Those are both of them are fantastic. But I also, there's this little detail, and I've heard you say it a couple of times because I watched obviously the video on the Indie Gogo and everything, about how the idea spawned with you just kind of saying, yeah, I mean, I guess it'd be nice to have a pet to get revenge on my enemies. And I'm going like, wait. Like, that's like such like an evil, that's an unpleasant thought. That's not a place that most of the time people will have that thought, right? But they won't acknowledge it. They won't say like, yeah, the basis of this creative exploration was I thought it'd be cool to have a pet that would destroy my enemies. And then you make this character that's loosely based on you going like, yeah, he was like Seymour, but he was really into what the monster was doing.
Yeah.
And it's like, all of a sudden, I'm like, yeah, this is the guy that should be telling that story, because given the right circumstances, you don't mind vengeance.
Well, I mean, it's not like in that sense, like it's almost also taking care of your problems. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And this guy, I don't have anyone in my life that I would, I mean, the people that would go after are the bill collectors and the psychiatrist who charged me a ton of money and gave me stuff that didn't work. And you could tell that, like, I'm in the office and he's like, I said, well, this medication you want to give me, like it causes high blood sugar. He goes, no, it doesn't. And I said, yeah, it does. And he Googles it in front of me and goes, well, I guess it does. Like, okay, Crust, go after that guy. But obviously,
Yeah, of course. Like we play these things out. Now,
right,
also, it's like I'm
But these people that are mean to me are actually in the movie are not great people. But I also am a huge fan of The Godfather, and I've always told my students it's a very simple. I go, if you can't make it simple, then it's not going to work. I'm not going to be a part of this family. Don't worry, honey. Looking her in the eye. I'm not going to be a part of this. This is the mob stuff. I don't get involved. Cut, to the end where she's looking right in his face. She goes, did you kill my brother? He goes, no. After just killing her brother.
Yeah.
And he goes, no, I didn't. And then I go, that's it. It's just the descent. That's it.
That's probably one of my favorite memories of the Godfather was watching that movie with my wife for the first time. She had never seen it. Like, she had no anything about it, right? And so I put it on. I'm like, no, you're gonna love it. This is gonna be great. Like, blah blah blah. And we were watching it, and it was the first time that I got to experience it with somebody. And she went, "Oh my God!" I go, "What?" After the movie was over, "Oh my God, what's wrong?" She goes, I didn't think he was going to join the mafia. I didn't think he was going to join the family. I was like, you didn't know Al Pacino was going to be the guy, but that's in the performance, right? That's what the story is. If you don't know, it's still convincing. Now, something I want to ask you about.
It's always the same tale that we've heard. It's not a new trope. Ultimate power corrupts.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. With Crust, are we dealing with practical effects here for the film? 100%. I love that. I love 100%. Practical effects.
The sock creature itself, it's in the other room right now. The sock creature itself, it's a big, pile of socks with little eyes, and it can squint and turn its head and stuff, will be manned by a true Muppeteer.
Oh.
She was just working on the new show for for Disney Plus, which is Dr. Teeth and the Medicine Show, the band from, and she's worked on that show. And what she did when I gave her the Crust creature, it's so cool. It's so cool how she made it come to life. It was just amazing. And that's my co-star 100% is that creature. So I would say we have some VFX, but in the most minor way, i.e., a Muppet has arms, like Crust will have arms and stuff, and the little wires underneath. The VFX is taking the wire. Sure. Yeah. Which, And yes, there's a couple of VFX shots, a couple that we have to do, but mostly it's just eliminating the puppeteer. And that's not really heavy duty. And a lot of that stuff, she'll be out of frame, or just getting rid of those little minor wires. That's how, but I wanted to do that. I was raised on doing puppets for kids' parties when I was 10 and 11. So it's very full circle. It's horror, it's comedy, it's my puppetry, it's acting. I'm going to be doing open shots like Mel Brooks did in Young Frankenstein, one of my favorite comedies. And that whole, oval teen, good night to Gene Wilder, where she's like, would you like something else? And he's like, no, I'm fine. Water? No, I'm fine. And she goes, oval teen? That's all one shot. And that's because he trusted the actors to bring the comedy, not cut around the timing, but have the timing. And that's the people I have in my movie.
And it's amazing. Speaking of the actors, it's pretty great timing that, you've got this relationship with Alan Ruck that started on Twister and everything, obviously. But the fact that Succession is like the biggest TV show on the planet, that's a pretty great time for him to be in your, directorial debut, no?
Yeah. Well, I just asked him off the cuff. I said, hey, man, I'd love you to be in my directorial debut. And he goes, I'd love to. And it's the kind of thing that you just don't know over text. And then I asked him again, like before Christmas. He goes, yeah, sure. And then when I finally just got him on the phone, he's like, yeah. I'll just get him. You can tell Deadline Hollywood. I go, oh, hold on. like talk to your people. Just tell. He goes, yeah, I'll tell him I'm doing it. I really believe to this day he hasn't read the script yet, but that's how he's committed. He's like, no, I love you. I'll do anything you want. It'll be fun. And he found out what his character was when he read the article.
Oh, that's awesome.
He's like, I guess I'm playing that guy. But that's such beautiful faith. Danny Roebuck, same thing. He goes, I said, I have small parts. And he goes, no. The biggest part possible that spends the most time with you. And I said, okay, I have a perfect part for that. And he goes, yeah, man, I want to act with you as much as possible. And he committed way before he had read the script. So I'm very blessed to have those kind of talented people have their faith in me.
Yeah. Well, I think it's awesome, man. I'm really excited for you. I hope everybody contributes, anybody that likes this type of movie.
And guys, the simplest thing you can do is if you go on I didn't mean to interrupt, Sam. Sorry.
No, please.
But if you go to indiegogo.com and you just go to the special thanks section, that means your name will be on this movie history film, which is, Roach and Angela together on the screen together. Me and Alan Ruck, first time since '96. Me and Danny Roebuck, the two people from Lost, the two best deaths on Lost, together on screen. Rebecca Kennedy and I, people who never get to do romantic leads. There's a lot of groundbreaking things that we're doing in there. You just put a special thanks and your name is on the movie forever. And if we get 1,000 of those by the end of the week, I did a vote with my fans and said, I will do, if we get 1,000, I will either do a man wax from top to bottom. I will paint my body all over, do a full body paint with whatever imagery you want. I said, or I'll do a drag show. And overwhelmingly, people said, we want you to do a drag show.
Hey.
So I know that if you, for $25 a pop, your name's in the movie, and you possibly get to see me made over and do a drag show.
I mean, that's worth, just the possibility, I think, is worth the $25, right? So,
yeah, right.
I mean, you might as well. And let's be honest, too. On our way out, I've always felt like, or at least for the past couple of years, that Lin-Manuel Miranda gets a lot of credit for popularizing Aaron Berg with
Hamilton.
Huh?
With Hamilton.
Yes, and I feel like there was an entire generation that was made aware of this because of you, and you deserve more credit for that, Sean Whalen.
That's what Leslie Odom Jr. said. Leslie Odom Jr. said, I didn't know anything more about it except that milk commercial. And so they kept on showing clips with all his interviews of my commercial. And I said, all right, we have to get in touch. It would be so great for him to meet me because so we call. They're like, yeah, it'd be so great. Sean Whalen knows Leslie's talked about him. It'd be so great to meet him. It'd be so great for publicity. And they're like, we're sold out for 10 years. We don't need publicity. And I'm like, publicity for me, maybe for me.
Yeah, that's the business, right? That's the cruel reality. That's why you have to take things into your own hands. That's why we've got Crust. Everybody get out there, support the thing. And Sean, I appreciate you giving us your time today, man.
Yeah, and I want to just thank everybody also on TikTok when I got in there during the pandemic and everyone was so nice. The constant question I said, you're so underrated. You never have big enough parts. When are you going to be a lead in a movie? When are you going to, so here it is.
Right.
You've asked for it and I created it for you. That's so no one can come to me and go, why aren't you in bigger parts? Well, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
So
make it happen. It's up to us.
Yeah. So thank you. But yeah, if you really want to do that, then check it out. And of course, if you can't, that's fine. I know I'm not saving the world from destruction. I just want you to have a couple hours the way I had a couple hours in all these fun movies I saw.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you, man. And
appreciate you. Thank you for making this happen. I really do appreciate it.
Of course. Let's talk again soon.
All right. Well, maybe we should circle back after production.
Definitely. I can't wait for it, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sam.